So you know, I go all the way out there all the time, you know. That'd be great. And every time I drive by there, I wonder how you guys do it in the back. Oh, we go live? It's live! Saturday Night Live!
Sneak over here. I'm gonna join you.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, now, hey.
Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Thank you to everybody that's here and anybody online. Just a reminder, online you can type questions into the chat at any time and we will answer them during the question and answer session. Looking around the room, I see we have a couple first timers in here. If you guys want to raise your hands, thank you for being here. Just a little overview about 1 Million Cups. It was created by the Kauffman Foundation as a way to connect entrepreneurs, to form a community. There are actually close to 200 1MC communities across the country that all meet every Wednesday morning over coffee, which is provided at the back of the room if you haven't grabbed a glass yet. And it's really meant to, so that we're all in this together. We're all sitting around, we're all drinking coffee, we're connecting, you're sharing ideas, and most importantly, you're getting honest feedback from other entrepreneurs in the room. So actually, one of our organizers, Michael, is presenting in Orlando today. So he's out there visiting some chapters too. And I encourage you, if you're traveling over the holidays, look it up. Go into the 1 Million Cups website and see what other chapters are out there presenting that you could join. This is presentations, not pitches. It's about connecting and not necessarily networking, which does tend to happen as we're here communicating with each other. But what it is we have two presenters every week. The presenter each gets 6 minutes where you can talk about your business, have any questions that you have, any issues that you want to bring to the audience, followed by a 15-minute question and answer session. And that's kind of where the magic happens. So we're going to start off this morning. We've got Shaba Shams with Kitibile, which is a marketplace for cottage kitchen buyers and sellers to connect.
Exactly. Good morning. Good morning, 1 Million Cups. So good to be here. Thank you guys for having me. This is not the first time that I'm here, so this is an exciting time for me, really, especially in the last recent months, just because an idea that I had out of frustration was born. And here I am seeing it coming alive, and I'm here to share it with you. So my frustration, let me talk about my frustration. I'm from North Africa, Algeria, and there is this wonderful dish called merguez that I literally eat when I go home from the second I arrive until I leave. Unfortunately, in America, it's kind of hard to find your local food, food from your country. Or even when you travel, you try something somewhere, right? So I located somebody in Tampa. Unfortunately, there was no system in place to get me the merguez. So I ended up being frustrated and a missed opportunity on both. Another situation that you guys might relate to, you go to an event, a wedding, and then you eat this delicious food made from somebody from their home. And you ask, who made the food? No one knows, right? What a missed opportunity. That's what happened to me at a Pakistani wedding. So needless to say that created what I call the foodie frustration emotion. Am I the only one? Well, of course not. Looking at Facebook groups and how the cottage food industry is operating, there is a lot of frustration out there for many, many reasons. So what is cottage food though? It is a person who produces or packages food products at her residence or his residence and then sells it to the consumer. We get that, right? Pretty simple. Anybody can do it. But here's some facts about the cottage food industry. It's growing market, actually 20 billion in 2019 and growing. Regulations. Actually, originally when I prepared this slide a few months ago, I had New Jersey as a total area where food or cottage food is completely banned. I removed it because in July, they passed the cottage food regulations, allowing people to sell food they make from their home. That's amazing. 2021, because of COVID-19, 61 regulations have been reformed or in the working to be reformed. What does it tell you? there is a need for cottage food industry and operation. The demand of the people is out there, and now the lawmakers are being conscious about the need and changing the regulations to make it really easy on people like you and me. And then, of course, food vendors. They want to earn money working from home. And there are a number of reasons. I don't speak English. I don't have degrees. I have kids at home. I am in transition of opening a brick and mortar business. So there are so many reasons that would want to make me start a cottage kitchen business. So the problem is access to an inventory. The problem is identification. I can, for instance, get something from someone, but I don't know what are the ingredients, what's in there. Like, I have some of these cookies made yesterday that Alex jumped on right away, and he doesn't know what's in there. So we're gonna solve the problem of what is it that you have in your food. And then, of course, issues with the existing marketplaces. Cottage food operators sell in farmers markets who have been hit by COVID-19, in addition to the weather, hello, north side of the country. So that's not really lucrative business, and they have to pay $30 at least for the stand and everything in between, and the traffic in farmers market is very limited, so that's limited. Facebook, I'm gonna say it like this, Facebook sucks. I'm one of those who believe that we need to do something about Facebook. If I'm selling my product on that platform, guess what? Recently it shut down for a whole 8 hours. What a business owner got to do. So these are the issues. We need to create other platforms, other marketplaces that allow cottage food operators to earn money with dignity. So our solution is a web platform where we can connect kitchen to table, locate a wider range of users, of course, get product information and labeling, which is really important for the safety of the consumer, and then, of course, all in one spot. You know, identify your item, your vendor, order, pay, and get your food. So the solution, we're targeting 3 areas or 3 aspects. The food vendor, people who want to earn the money. So we are going to connect with 10 million consumers by 2025. We're going to create the marketplace that supports the cottage food industry, and then we're going to create this one-stop shop for all. For the foodie, people who crave food just like you and me, we're going to have access to an inventory in addition to the food safety. And then regulations, we need to do a lot in that regard, and the work is already ongoing. So I'm not going to read, I'll tell you the story of my life, that's pretty long, but I want to tell you something. I'm from North Africa, Algeria. I came to this country 25 years ago. And I started a catering business like 2 years after I was here, because nobody had told me that I could actually start a cottage kitchen operation. In the end, I invested a lot of money for not much. Long story, I will tell you that another time because of the sake of time. So why Kitibile? Kitibile has a demographic already. The food, people who are eating and the people who are making the food. So what we're doing is creating a bridge. We are going to be the first to market. It's really interesting that the cottage food industry, it's kind of like marijuana. It's happening behind the scene, but now we need to pay attention to it and regulate it. And then an ecosystem, it's more than just connecting vendor to foodie. It's also about building a support, marketing, education, connecting with influencers and things of that sort. So local is hot. Local is hot, and it cannot get any hotter than the cottage food operator. This is our team. It's a very strong team, I would say. I was trying to find another word, but I shouldn't be saying the word A, but a KA team. Jared Yellen is the co-founder alongside with Grant Cardone, and we have amazing people here. I mean, I've been working with this team for the past few months, and it's just like amazing. So our business model, it's a fee-based, $10 a month, and then of course a very low transaction fee. We're building an ecosystem of vendors, and we have access to the 10X community, which is about 14 millions already and growing. And then the force of good behind it, it's just what drives me to want to get into this business, helping and empowering families to earn money and take care of their families. The go-to-market is in 4 stages. And at this point, I'm going to say, like, we're hosting a family and friends night on December 9 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is where we're going to be going in details about the go-to-market and marketing strategy. And the size of the market here, we place Kitibile like along the side of ready meal markets and meal kit delivery, another growing business. But let's face it, we're talking about a $71+ billion business between all these type of businesses. So did I get your attention there of really looking into it? Yeah? Probably, yeah, I have to. So we are not really facing direct competition all that much, just because cottage food industry is very sporadic, chaotic, and structured and regulated and all that. So is it going to be hard to educate the market about what we're doing? Absolutely not. It is a blue ocean in a way, because something along that side is already happening. People order food and get it home, and people buy from farmers market. It's just like the point of access is going to change for them. So it's not a difficult one to be selling. So these also are our projections for the future. Anyone interested in learning more about how we're going to get our users and grow the platform, feel free to join us for Family and Friends Night on December 9, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to pass these here, but here is what's important, the advantages that we have. How are we so confident about going with the product to market? Well, we have access to over 14 million through the 10X community. We are partnering with FarmBridge, which is an online farmers market, another amazing initiative coming out. And then the mission of Force and Good, partnering with different nonprofit organizations, refugee centers, and so on, just really to bring empowerment to the families who want to earn. So this is kind of a little summary. I'm guessing I'm out of town here. So this is a little summary of what we are trying to accomplish. Kitibile is the Airbnb in the food industry. Disrupt the way we eat, freedom food law movement. So that's really what I'm after. As a consumer, I have the right to choose where my food is coming from and who is making it. Few testimonials. And again, a link here for those of you who want to join us on Family and Friends Night. Remember that together we achieve more. So this is my presentation, and I have a quick word from my co-founder as well.
What's up, fellow entrepreneurs? Jared Dillon here, co-founder of Kitibile with the one and only Shaba, and also co-founder of 10X Incubator. I wanted to record this video for you. I know you're an entrepreneur, and I want to honor you. Entrepreneurs are the solution. 2022 is the year of the entrepreneur. It's going to be the year that people like us, we get bolder, we get more audacious, we get more fearless, we go after bigger and more significant outcomes. We commit to what I call a moonshot. Moonshot is something that shakes up the world, where you go down trying. You commit to it. You go all in on it. It's something that most people think that you're crazy, and you're also onto something at the same time. And at Kitibile, we got a big, bold moonshot. We got a moonshot to connect cottage kitchens with every family from around the world who wants to have fresh, authentic meals that they can share with their entire family. We want to create economic outcome so that wonderful families that are already preparing really unique eclectic meals can prepare a little bit more and start monetizing that experience. What I want to empower you to do is participate in what we're up to. I want to empower you to come on a journey with us. I want to empower you to learn more about how you can co-author a story that's going to change the cottage kitchen food industry forever. Yes, that's right. I want you to help co-author the story. Co-author a moonshot with us. And we want to co-author your moonshot as well. I don't know if you ever thought about being a tech founder. Most people have tech ideas. They're just too afraid to pursue it. They don't know where to start. They don't know who to trust. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the resources. Shaba was one of those people too. She had this vision. This vision to completely change the cottage food industry. And I just feel so blessed that we connect. Because as a result of our connection, Kitibile is becoming a reality. I hope you join us on our up-and-coming Friends and Family experience so that you can learn more about what it means to be on this journey. To be on a journey to change the cottage kitchen industry forever. Love and appreciate you, Jared, Dylan here. Enjoy the rest of the experience. Bye for now.
So yeah, we're probably crazy or up to something. And this is my time. Thank you.
Jared Dylan here.
Thank you very much. So, can everybody give Shaba a hand? So now we're opening it up to question and answer. So we're going to start.
Before we do that, Trish, I have 2 books. One of my achievements in 2021 that I want to actually gift out to the newbies today. How is that? The newcomers here? And I'll sign it.
What's the book called?
The Power of Elite Interviews. It's based on my pod show that I started last year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Of course, the first question has to come from
Alex here from eXp Real Estate. I'm always curious when people start a company, you know, how they come about with the name. And so I looked up Kitibile, and I see that it was started back in September of this year. It was registered in Wilmington, Delaware. And so I'm just curious on how it came about, the name, and what does it mean, actually.
Oh my God, I love the question. Thank you, Alex. You definitely deserve more cookies. Well, the name is, as you know, the idea of Kitibile started off as exotic food, exotic and ethnic food. And it was like since last year. It's been something that I've been thinking about for over a year now. And originally it was like this ethnicity. So I was thinking ethnic food or exo food or something like that. And it's so interesting, as I was preparing my very first presentation, I had the slogan of connecting kitchen to table, because that's really what I am doing. I'm connecting kitchen to table from around the globe. And then I looked at the word kitchen and then table, and it's like, Kitibile. And it really is something that happened in a fraction of a second. And it's one of those things that we talk about, like overthinking things and going with your gut. My gut at that very second told me this is the right name. And then I started testing, even with little kids. And I say it, and they get it, and they remember it. And it's like, it's a good darn name, so I'll keep it. So Kitibile was born from connecting kitchen to table.
Yeah, because at first, you know, when I saw it, you know, it said Kitibile, and I was thinking about cat food.
Kitty, yeah.
Yeah, kitty.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just, I was wondering, well, she's into cat food now or something like that. So I wasn't really sure exactly what it meant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense, you know, Kitibile, you know, kitchen, table, and all
Right.
that.
So the original word was actually spelled with an A, but we had a trademark issue there. So we had to go K-I-T-I, which actually I'm loving because I'm developing Kitty Chef and Kitty Ed and Kitty. So the Kitty card, for instance, for the vendor's information, it's going to be called Kitty card. And it's cuter and easier to remember. And you have to think about a name that sticks, you know? So you see, yeah, some people heard it once and they remember it and they're like, how is it going on with Kitibile? I'm like, oh, you remember the name? Like, of course I do. So, yeah.
Hi, Trish.
Good question.
I had a question about the platform itself. Is this looking to be like for example, you go to Etsy for handmade items, and I know Etsy does a little bit of kitchen cottage, but is this meant to be a platform like that where it's just its own, like you can only get cottage kitchen food there, and that's why people are going there, or how do you kind of compare yourself to some of the other platforms out there?
Well, it'll be an app-based and a web-based, and yes, it would be solely for cottage food operators. Will we get into some other artisan work down the road? I don't know, but right now my focus is the mom and pops who have kids at home or they cannot work outside. They lost their restaurants. so many people right now need to make food from their home, bake food from their home and sell it. And that's the focus of the demographic that we are targeting. And then of course our customers are all of us because we all like to eat. So anyone who has a taste for certain foods will be able to access it there. But for now it's just like the Cottage Food Operators.
Great, thank you. Do you have anything?
Hi, Sal. Great presentation this morning. Really interesting idea. Tom Jordan. I do a lot of work in the online world. So my question really is, you're kind of a marketplace from what I can understand. You've got all these individual cottage food vendors. How do you plan to handle the quality control? Because you're obviously not the one creating, providing, and delivering. So how do you guys intend to handle maintaining the quality and managing your vendors and making sure the customers are happy and handling all those return issues that might crop up?
Wonderful question. Thank you so much. Yeah, and this is really important to understand that it is a marketplace, and the way we monitor the quality, not I would say monitor or ensure the quality, is through a review process. It's something that already is out there in the market. When you order an Uber drive, for instance, you give a review to the driver based on his services and so on. So the same concept is going to be brought to Kitibile, that if you are a vendor and your food is extraordinary, you're going to be relying on the reviews you're getting from your customers and also returning customers. So that pretty much puts you in a higher level. So what that will do is force the vendors like you and me who make the food is really to improve our quality. So that's the best way to control what goes from the house or the kitchen to the table. Yes?
Elias Shakin with Anchors or how do you get it from the vendor to the consumer?
Great question, delivery. That's actually one of the questions that my husband has been asking me non-stop, and I reached the point where I'm like, if you ask one more question about delivery, I'm going to go to a hotel or something. Anyway, so the delivery originally, when we launched, it's going to be option for the vendors and the consumer, right? So I'm ordering food for you. There is an option in the app where you either come pick it up or you deliver, either one. And I'm thinking, not thinking, but the plan is to partner with, all the different delivery services that are in place right now through like Uber Eats or things like that as we grow bigger. But originally at the beginning, it would be an option of pickup or delivery to start off.
Okay, it looks like we have there's not a question online, I'm sorry, there's just some comments. We've got about 8 people watching right now, but I had a question. How are you getting people to the platform? Like, what's going to be your main way of marketing? That's my first one, and then the second one, I have to ask how you got your team, because I know there's some very recognizable names out there.
Well, good questions on both. So the first question is how to get the subscribers. Actually, back in October, I was at the 10X Incubator Immersion, where we, for 3 days, 4 days, we go crazy and we do a lot of discussions on how to move the business forward and so on and so forth. And there was a whole presentation of the first 1,000 subscribers. That was really fascinating, and if you guys are interested in learning more, I'll definitely share some of that information with you. So looking at all the different tech companies and how they got their 1,000 subscribers, it's absolutely sick. Neighborhood, for instance, who is now at 15 million users in 10 years, literally we're going through neighborhood to neighborhood and advertising the app and pitching the app to the users. I forgot if it was Airbnb who actually even traveled overseas and made some contracts with different bed and breakfast and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of work to do. So our original plan is really to create the ecosystem through an education piece where we're going to be teaching people how to start a cottage kitchen operation. So as we're building that ecosystem, we're going to be moving, or rewarding rather, the people who join that ecosystem into getting the free access to Kitibile. So that will allow them to sell on Kitibile for 2 years or so at no charge to them. And then of course we have Grant Cardone, who's like a beast in terms of marketing, 14 million and counting. So that's the partnership that makes us different from all the other startups. Usually startups, when they begin an idea on paper or whatever, they're here trying to do it alone, and they try in this, and they hire a coder, and maybe it doesn't work out that way, and it's like a lot of frustration. The fortunate thing that makes Kitibile different is that we already have this amazing team, right? Coders and marketers and strategists. And I mean, the work is just phenomenal. That's gonna be, less challenging for us to get the subscribers and the users because we are already penetrating in the market.
And we also have an online question from Tyler LeCompte, and it's, what has been your best lesson learned so far in your venture? Anything surprising?
Wow, that's, I wish I can give him the book. That's an awesome question. I think as entrepreneurs, we always deal with this uncertainty, like the fear of uncertainty. Am I making the right decisions and the right choices? But it all starts with that little burning fire you have with that idea. I want to see it alive. I want to see that idea come out. So I believe that you will always have surprises. You will always have things that, oh, that's not what I thought, or that's not what I expected. And the key is really to pivot immediately. And I'm going to give you a good example or exercise we did as founders or co-founders during our immersion with Jared Yellen, is that he took us to a paint place. Like, imagine 40 people in a small room, like half this size, this one, going at each other with paintballs. And we were all dressed up, like really nice clothes. And the concept there is like, what do you do when you have unexpected things thrown at you, right? You enjoy the ride. You live in the moment and you enjoy the ride. So challenges, I believe that the process of startup is challenging. The process of going all in is a challenging one. And it's sometimes your limiting belief that constitute the biggest challenge, because anything outside of you can solve it. But the biggest challenges are what holds you back from within. So I think your mindset might be the biggest challenge, lack of flexibility and just pivoting.
We've got another online question.
A great question, I love it.
And it's a comment. It says, I'm so glad you explained Kitibile. I thought of dog and cat food. Are you also providing fruit and vegetables and vegan food?
Vegan, definitely. Food, vegetables, and what else?
Fruits and vegetables and vegan.
Vegan, definitely, because in our labeling, actually, we're building an inventory of the labels that we need to focus on, and vegan and halal meat and kosher or things like that are already in there. I believe that as we are building our understanding of the different areas and what people need, definitely will be there. The vegetables and the fruit, I would say, because we're partnering with farmer bridges, we are going to be seeing how we can incorporate Kitibile into their platforms and FarmBridge into our platform. So that the vegetables and the fruit side would be probably in the FarmBridge side. But we want to create an organic way of people to eat. Go to the FarmBridge, get all the produce fresh from the farms, and then cook it and bake it and sell it to the consumer.
And do we have any more questions in the room?
My name's Dean. I'm from Career Source, and coming from a military background, traveling a lot, eating a lot of ethnic food, you can't always get, and you talk about the fruits and the vegetables, but certain things like spices and stuff like that that really make a ethnic food and tasty and everything else, can't to the farmer, could they, are you going to expand into something where you can get stuff like that?
That's a beautiful question because I have a whole stream of income coming in, and part of why I envision really connecting Kitibile to international, spice vendors and dish vendors. For instance, I'm from North Africa, so there is a dish that I love. It's called tagine, and it needs like a special pot to make it in. So if I order a dish, or there would be a sense of you can serve it in the same dish, you can buy the same spices, you can have this. So like I said, it's beyond just come to Kitibile to sell your food. It's what ecosystem can we build really to create this culture of cottage food operation and cottage food, produce and products.
And the last question is, what can the 1 Million Cups community do to help you with your venture?
I was looking forward to this question, actually. So there are different needs at this stage of our Kitibile existence. Like the first one is awareness. We really want to talk about what we do, because if we don't talk about it, nobody knows what we're doing, right? So if you have access to any local newspapers, non-profit organization, refugee centers, women, anyone who might be interested in really becoming a force of good and supporting this movement. The second one is, of course, this is not a pitch, but as you know, a tech company always looks for fundraising and investors. So if you have a network of investors, that would be also something that would be very, very supporting the direction of our company. And then, of course, we're going to say the vendors and the foodies. You guys need to eat, so we need to find you people who can cook for you and give you the best product possible for your enjoyment, because home needs to be around the corner. This is Shaba. I'm done speaking. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Thank you.
We're going to take just a minute to switch over presentations, and then we will have Dr. Pistoia, Jared.
And while we're switching presentations, I have some homemade cookies for you.
More cookies!
And Alex already tried them, so maybe you can give us a testimonial. How was the cookie for you?
Oh, it's very interesting cookie. I was
It's
trying
not
to
that.
figure out what was inside, but it was like a multitude of flavors.
So yes, we've got the cookies up here if you guys want to help yourself. And then let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Pistoia, who is treating various conditions through telemedicine and naturopathic medicine.
Oh yeah. And it's made with whole wheat flour or organic flour.
whole wheat flour. I don't do.
Very good. I'll just grab that bar.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
There we go. So yes, I am Jared Pistoia. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm the sole owner of Doctor Pistoia, so I do everything. I'm also an author. I wrote a book called In Pursuit of Health. It's available on Amazon. You have to search for my name though. I don't know why. So some basics. I actually prepared some stories for you guys today, just about being a clinician and helping people and what that feels like and what that looks like and why that's important for my business. So I'm definitely going to violate the 6-minute rule. You'll have to show me some mercy. Before I start with those, just some basics about the business. So it's a professional LLC, PLLC, means I have a license. So if you have a license to do something, you need to have a PLLC. It's mostly telemedicine. Actually, right now it's exclusively telemedicine. I'm licensed in Connecticut, so that's where I market to. It's all cash-based. I don't take any insurance, not right now anyway. And most of my visits are by phone call. I do have some Zooms. So it's unique in that way. I don't have a brick and mortar right now. So what is a naturopathic doctor? Does anybody know? Does anybody have any ideas? It's a completely new concept to a lot of people, to everyone. Okay. So I'm not going to read all of this, but basically I went to medical school and I learned the same thing a conventional doctor learns. So labs and imaging and diagnosis, and then a whole lot more, what we call alternative medicine. And alternative medicine encompasses a number of different healing philosophies and different types of medicine. Some of those include homeopathy and botanicals, herbal medicine. These of themselves are different schools of medicine. So you could spend a whole lifetime studying homeopathy or studying botanicals or studying physical medicine, which is like chiropractic does. We can prescribe drugs in some states too. So our landscape is a little different than regular doctors. So who am I, right? Why did I decide to do this medicine when I could have just went to regular medical school, taken insurance, and had all these patients? So I'm not going to give you the whole story of my life, right? It's going to take too long. But most naturopaths go through some sort of awakening process before they find the medicine. So it's sort of eclectic in that way, and you're sort of called to it. It's a very special type of medicine. And usually that comes with getting sick. So you usually have some sort of healing crisis where you're trying to get better, you've been stuck with an illness, and you just can't seem to figure out why you're sick or how to get better. And conventional medicine doesn't have any solutions for you. So what do, right? You can't get a drug, you can't get anything else, there's no surgery for you, but you're still suffering. So how do you get past it? Well, fortunately and unfortunately for me, I was stuck with these problems very, very young. So the way that I sort of came out when I was born was I was always fascinated with the human body and people and helping others. I always loved to help other people. Always loved to be there for people. Deeply listening to them, understanding who they are from a very deep place, and making that genuine human connection with them. Presence is really important to me. You know, just being in this room, being here with you guys, there's something to that, something to being here with you. And that defines a big part of my life as being present. So obviously being a telemedicine practitioner, it's been a little weird because it's a different kind of presence. You know, part of life is just being, and nothing more than that. Being in this room and just breathing. There's an act to that, there's an experience of that. And life is meant to be experienced, and part of life is also getting sick. And I think what we tend to do is always try and push our diseases away. And say, this is not me, I don't want this, why do I have this, why am I sick? That's not me. In a sense, it's true, it's not you. It's a part of yourself that you have that's creating problems for yourself. Think about the person, maybe someone you know, a friend, who keeps dating the wrong person. They keep suffering, right? They keep attracting the wrong people. Why are they attracting the wrong people? It's a question that they have to understand about themselves. Until they do that, they're not going to get past it. So this is what I had to face when I was a kid, right? And all things considered, I did pretty well. I had a pretty good childhood. But I was sick. I had skin problems on my feet. I couldn't walk. I would walk like this on the sides of my feet. Not always, but sometimes. It was cracked and blistered. It was really painful. Then, some years later, I had IBS. And IBS is not a disease. My skin problem wasn't a disease, a classifiable disease. It was just a problem that I had. So there was no solutions. I remember sitting after dinner, I would have to run to the bathroom, 9 years old, sitting on the bowl, praying to a God that I wasn't even sure existed. Because it was so painful. So you've been there. Please, God, take my pain away. I'll do anything. That's the state of mind I was in. That's the state of mind that you have to be in if you want to get better. So that was me, 9 years old, right? Bargaining. I'll go to church this Sunday. I didn't go. Then I got stuck with, I just kept getting the common cold. Just every few months I would just get sick. And it wasn't this, like, oh, you have this, you have that. It was some sort of virus, right? You just get sick. You don't know what it is. And then I would never fully recover, though. It was like I was always at this substandard of, am I going to get sick again? I feel something's coming again. 10 years, more than 10 years with that. The whole time wondering, asking, why am I getting sick? You know, what is the problem that I'm dealing with that's leading me to this? And really asking that question. So I didn't really have a choice, so I had to embrace alternative medicine because there were no solutions for me. There's no solutions for a lot of people that they're going through right now. So I found vitamin C and zinc based on this book that I read. And I was taking mega doses of vitamin C, and that was beautiful. It helped me for a while. Then I got to medical school. Of course, my biggest fear was getting sick. And then sure enough, life was funny. I got sick immediately. And I was sick for 6 weeks, but it wasn't, a 6-week illness where you just gradually get better. It was like I get better and I got worse again, and it was just this torture cycle. And the whole time I was extremely upset. I had all this work to do. And so you spend enough time ill, and you realize, you start to ask, you start to come to conclusions and find answers about the reasons why, even if they don't seem practical, because you're desperate, right? So that was the medical school torture illness. That's what I called it. What I realized as I was going through this process was what my illnesses were teaching me. Every disease that you have, every illness that you have, there's a lesson for you there. It doesn't matter what you have. If it's a common cold, if it's a chronic disease, there's some lesson for you there that you have to unpack. There's something that you're doing that's contributing to it. You may not see it, right? If you saw it, you would have the awareness of why it was happening. So in a way, healing is having the awareness to see your disease through. So I was getting woken up by this torturous illness at night. I couldn't go to sleep. When I would lie flat, I would have an irresistible urge to cough. So it was literally waking me up in that way, also metaphorically waking me up. If I had to figure it out because I had to go to sleep. I would get woken up with a sore throat, 3 in the morning, screaming sore throat. And I'm saying, what the hell? What am I doing wrong? Didn't know. So I picked up a book that was on the counter that I brought over, staying at a friend's house, 3 in the morning, what else are you going to do? The book was called Nature Cure. And I was reading through it. Well, I didn't find any answers, but I found inspiration. The will to keep going and keep searching. And that's what happened. I kept searching. And in the process, I was raising my awareness because I was looking for reasons why I was sick. And I was finding answers. But they weren't the right answers yet. So, long story short, I wound up finding something called homeopathy, homeopathic medicines. Very complex, very difficult to prescribe and practice. So I had a bit of beginner's luck, and I took a medicine, and what happened? Nothing. So I took it again, because I was stubborn, and then the next day, my entire illness cleared up. Now, some people say, it's the placebo effect, right? You somehow did it yourself. Maybe. But then I gave it to Ari, who was my neighbor, because this first year of medical school, by the way, I didn't know anything about diagnosis, nothing. But she had a cough, and I heard it because she was across the hallway from me. And, I'm always thinking about how can I help someone. So I thought to myself, maybe she has the same thing I do. So I ran into her in the hallway, and I asked her some questions just to kind of qualify, see what she had. And it sounded very similar to what I had. So I just had an instinct. You have that intuitive, like, you should take this, or I should do this thing. So I said, you should try this, it worked for me. So I gave it to her, and several days later, I ran into her again. She as well was feeling a lot better, 100% better. So what do you make of it, right? It worked for me, it fundamentally changed my life, these homeopathic medicines. So much so that I felt indebted to these medicines. Because the next day after I took it, I felt lighter, like something was removed from me. Like that layer of ego was taken off, and then I was left as a lighter person. Oh, there's a laser on this? So, okay, a little bit more about the business. So what problem does my business solve, right? Because every business has to solve a problem. So, the story of the American healthcare system is very depressing, so I'm not going to go into it. It is in my book, though, chapters 1 and 2. Most people have a chronic illness, some 60%, something like that. Everyone has something, right? That's because we're meant to learn through our diseases, right? We're not going to be in good health, 100% no diseases. That's just how it goes. Why are we all so sick? And why do we not seem to be getting healthier as a country? It's a question that we have to ask ourselves. And I think part of it is because we have a one-track mind with medicine right now. We have to snuff out our symptoms, suppress things, and we miss the lessons, we miss the learning periods. So we need better access to alternative medicine, 1,000% better. Right now it's not very accessible. And part of the reason is because you have to pay out of pocket in a lot of cases for it. Some states and insurance companies do reimburse for alternative medicine, but it's not integrated. It's this segregated thing. We're very compartmentalized right now. You see a specialist for this, you see a specialist for that. He disagrees with her. Nobody's on the same page. So we have to integrate, right? And that's part of what naturopathy is. It's an integrated medical system. So one of the first questions I ask people is, why do you think you're sick? Do you have a reason? Are you able to come up with some reasons for that? A lot of people know the reason why. They just don't know how to get past it. So I help people understand why they're ill and also how they can overcome their illness. Two different things, by the way. It's one thing to understand why. It's another thing to understand how. And natural medicines facilitate that process. The awakening process, that is. A quick bit on that. Maybe this is too much for this discussion, but when you become conscious of your disease, you start to understand why it's there. And when you're sick, your consciousness goes where your disease is. So you get distracted. You get taken out of the moment. There's a quote from a book called Awareness by Anthony DeMello. And he said, you're never so unaware as when you're ill. Because you're distracted. It takes you out of the present moment. Puts you into your suffering. Everything that's alive on this planet has a consciousness. So plants have consciousness. Minerals animate consciousness. So they kind of have consciousness. Humans and animals have consciousness. So when you take a plant, you're actually getting the plant's perspective of life. Its consciousness is mixing with yours. Talk about integrative medicine. Okay, I don't have that many slides, so. Integrative medicine. This is a great example of how to use it. So this is a story about David's nose. David was a patient that I saw. He had terrible nasal congestion. Couldn't breathe through his nose. So he kept presenting to the emergency room because to him, it was an emergency. He couldn't breathe through his nose. It's not an emergency though. So my assessment was that the man was extremely fearful, he was insecure, he was really reactive, and nobody was really helping him. Because every time he'd go to the emergency room, they would give him the same stuff, he would never get an answer. And he himself was not looking for the answer of why he was even presenting to the emergency room without an emergency. So I started him with the basics, right? You can't put a roof on a house before you build the foundation, so you have to establish the basics first. Diet, have him rinse out his nose, vacuum your house, make sure there's no dust, allergens. Then I did some homeopathy and botanicals with him, natural medicines. They didn't really work for him. So I did drugs, right? I didn't do any hard drugs with him. What we did, basically decided one day my whole goal with David would be to get him to stop presenting to the emergency room. Because it didn't make any sense why he was going there. So I said, all right, I had to start looking for an appropriate drug to give him. Right? This is integrative medicine. So I gave him Benadryl. But I had to persuade him to take it though. I couldn't just give it to him. He didn't want it. Sometimes you're the limiting factor in recovering from your illness. Sometimes other people are the limiting factor. Sometimes your doctor's the limiting factor. The one thing, so the way that I got him to take the medicine was, because I offered it to him and I said, hey, you should take this, I think it will help you. And he said, well, what if I react to it? And I was like, yeah, how do I get past this? So I left the room and came back, and I said one thing, I said, what if you don't react to it? Aha, that's what got him. And then he tried it, and a week later he came back, he was like floating on air from Benadryl, of all things.
So we're
Okay. This is my last slide.
I just want to make sure we have time for you to get the question.
Okay, thank you. So what's the state of my business, right? With all that in mind. It's a telemedicine practice. Telemedicine is likely growing, but I don't think it's going to be the main thing people go for. I think we're still going to need a clinic setting. Telemedicine's a tool. Where's my revenue? It's in the red, but it's not deep in the red. And I am very effective. That's important in considering the state of the business because I am the business. My effectiveness determines whether or not the business makes money. The demand for natural medicine also seems to be growing. It seems to be there, but who wants to pay out of pocket? People who value health. Marketing, sum that up, nightmarishly slow. That's the words I chose for that. My core challenges are establishing a first visit or relationship with somebody via telemedicine, via phone. It's obviously a challenge because they can't see you, they can't feel you, and I can't feel them, I can't be with them. So there's a little bit of difficulty. There's unorthodox and it's a bit nebulous. My other challenge is visibility, right? And being in a sea of everything on the web. How do you get yourself found? So with that in mind, my approach for next year, this coming year, is obviously strengthen the weak links, right? So for me, what I've noticed in the telemedicine practice is that I don't think people really want to use telemedicine exclusively. So I have to establish a clinic. How do you establish a clinic when you don't have the revenue to pay for the overhead?
So just to make sure that, because we've only got about 9 minutes left, so I want to make sure we have time for question and answer. Yep. So does anybody in the room have a question?
Thank you so much. Really interesting presentation, Doctor. So, you deal in a very personal business. Every one of your interactions with your customers is really personal. So, in looking at how you present yourself, how do you market yourself, how do you get those connections without actually being in the room with somebody or doing a presentation like this? It seems that your customers are looking for a solution, and the place you could put that with your solutions, your chance for a solution, would be on YouTube videos, short videos that talk about, are you looking for a solution for X? I can help you get there. You're not marketing medicine, you're not trying to prescribe drugs, you're not into that realm doing that. But people will then see you and develop that connection with you. I think that's a great way to market yourself, and it's really inexpensive to do that. Just my suggestion and comments.
Yeah, I appreciate that input. People are searching for, there's one thing.
They're out there, look.
Yeah, people are searching for basically their diseases, right? They're searching for
chronic,
diabetes,
whatever it might be.
Yeah, natural medicine for diabetes. Then the question from there is, how do they get to me from there? And building the personalized experience is definitely a huge part of that process. Making the videos and making them short enough so that people pay attention to them, right? There's an art and a science to it. And it takes time though, you have to build up a repertoire of information so that you seem like a credible resource. And I'm a relatable person, so I never had a problem establishing connections with people. I think that's part of why telemedicine even works for me at all. Because once I start having a conversation with people, it's like, okay, he seems to get it. I appreciate your input.
So we have a question online from Kara Marie Cole. It says, hey Jared, tuning in from Ecuador just to watch 1 Million Cups, Daytona Beach. Do you think there is a place to also use pharmaceutical in addition to homeopathic methods?
I knew you were going to ask that question, Kara. She was here a couple weeks ago. Yes, there's always a place. We have to integrate medicine. It's not about being exclusive. It's about using the tools properly, right? That's why we have different whole toolbox. So just like David's story, David needed a drug. I didn't want to give it to him because I'd rather give someone a natural medicine, but he needed a drug. So I gave it to him. So I think we have to be judicious in how we're using drugs. We have to be judicious in how we're using anything. Even with food, how much we're eating, how much we're exercising. There's a balance to it all.
All right, I had a question on costs and how you charge and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I had probably like 50 questions, but that's the main thing because, I go to a doctor, I walk in, he looks at me, he listens to me, checks me, and then, all right, and then Medicare pays for it.
Mhm.
So, how do you charge, and is it covered by different, medical plans, Medicare, any of that?
It can be. So I'm not credentialed with insurance. The way that you can accept insurance as a provider is through a credentialing process. Basically, you apply, and they send you a letter or something to let you know that we've included you in our network. Naturopaths can be included. I'm not currently. It's a hellishly long process. I don't know why that is. So I'm cash-based right now. And my first visit is $250, and my follow-ups are $150. So obviously there's more legwork at the first visit. I have to understand who you are, what you're going through, and then follow-ups are different. And the way that I came up with that number was through market research. So I looked at, I think it was like 20 clinics in Connecticut when I was there, and I just created Excel sheets and looked at hourly rates, looked at per minute rates. I looked at what they were offering, and then I came up with like, okay, well, where do I fit in with this? Where does my business fit in with this? And what do I believe my value is? And that's where I sort of found an equilibrium with the pricing. So I wouldn't do an initial visit for anything less than $250 because, in my opinion, that's selling myself way too short. Because if I can give a medicine and you feel better, your disease goes away, acute diseases, what's the value in that? There's tremendous value.
We've got time for one more question. Hi there, thank you for everything, really. My name's Angela, for those of you who don't know. Along the lines of the question that this man just asked and the answer that you just provided, I noticed on your slides, you were addressing cure and preventative ways about this beautiful way how nature can just provide. So if you don't mind addressing your clientele, what you're looking to do with your future as far as curing and preventing
Right.
ailments and things as such.
So curing is a hot term, right? It's a dangerous term also. So I only mention cure as insofar as your body is able to cure itself with the right stimulus. There's no medicine that's going to cure you. Only you can do it yourself. But you have to understand, you have to have a high enough level of awareness to get outside of your disease and be able to see it through. That's when you have the aha moment of, why was I doing that? Who was that person? And for some people, that part of themselves dies. Just like me in first year medical school, that part of myself, whatever that was, I left it behind. It's no longer there.
Great, and the last question that we ask is, what can the 1 Million Cups community do to help you?
I think you've already done it. Just allowing me to be here and think this through and present and be around people who are supportive, that's enough for me right now. I don't have any shortage of ideas or anything like that. It's just a matter of, I think, time doing this and being out in the community and honing my message. So I think you've already done it.
Wonderful, thank you. Can we give Dr. Pistoia Okay, everybody, thank you so much for coming out. Next week we have 2 more presenters. We're actually fully booked through December, but I did have a question I wanted to ask the community. We are going to be taking the week of Christmas off, but we do have the option the following week to meet in a non-traditional form and almost use this space to do some connecting and coffee, kind of that week between Christmas and New Year's. So think about that. We'll be asking again in the next couple weeks, but that is available if you did want to take advantage of that time. So we will see everybody next week. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and thank you for coming out.